everyone, to this Global Teal Meetup for the Americas. I'm Ed Fraunheim. I'm a co-founder of the Teal team, and we are proud and honored to host Global Teal Meetups for the Americas. This Global Teal Meetup represents a milestone in a wider, worthy journey toward better, more conscious, more soulful workplaces, toward workplaces that really help us evolve to a world that where both people and planet can thrive. We're meeting here in the second year of our Global Teal Meetups for the Americas, and right in the wake of the third annual Teal Around the World event. That gathering had, close to 1,000 attendees, making the second straight year where it had close to that number, if not more. Now, our numbers aren't huge, but they're hopeful. And we're joined in this movement by cousins in the Agile movement, the conscious capitalism efforts, the B Corp world, in the momentum towards stakeholder capitalism. What's more, we're coming together at a pregnant moment. The crises of the past 2 years, when you think about the pandemic, the racial justice protests, climate catastrophes, and even the tragic war in Ukraine, also amount to opportunities for real change. Old paradigms and assumptions about how we work and how we live together are crumbling. Millions of people are quitting the rat race, for example, and seeking new answers. So as painful as these past few years have been, they also offer the possibility for us to birth a new way. People are asking if we can work and live together in more human, dignified, holistic, purpose-driven ways and forge a future that's really life-giving. And we also see organizations doing this. More and more of them are experimenting with self-management, holism, and evolving purpose. So despite the big challenges we face, I detect more hopefulness than hopelessness. And as we begin our meetup today, I suggest that we celebrate our progress and recommit to learning, to growing, and to evolving ourselves, our organizations, and our world. Close your eyes for a moment and think of something that is a symbol of hope for you in this moment. It might be a person, it might be an object, maybe it's an organization, maybe it's an incident. What's giving you hope right now, especially around these themes of more conscious workplaces and a more conscious world? And once you have something, I invite you to put it in the chat, opening up space for a more human workplace. Emotional intelligence, community coming in here, civic involvement, a daughter, this is great. So as we move through the rest of today, I encourage you to keep that hopeful symbol in mind. Also remember the promise of this moment. Let's go over the agenda for the rest of today. So we're kind of finishing our welcome here for the opening 5 minutes. We're then going to go into a Teal primer and an opportunity to connect with each other, have a story swap activity that's really about holism, a board of advisors activity that's about self-management and problem solving for each other. And then finally, we'll do some reflection with feedback and closing. And what is Teal anyways? Some of you especially may be wondering, what does this green-blue color have anything to do with work and with how we live together for a better world? So for a brief primer on Teal, let me turn things over to my Teal team colleague, Matt Spohr. Matt?
Hey, everybody. Matt from the Bay Area here. So the Teal team, when we explain Teal to folks, we really zone in on 3 principles that came from Frederick Laloux's book, Reinventing Organizations. And the first one is evolutionary purpose. Purpose, I think of as the life spirit or the energy of the organization. And as the slide says here, it's unlocked when individual, team, and organizational purpose are aligned. When we talk about holism, the second quality, to me, that's the way that individuals can interact with this energy of the organization. And hopefully they can interact with all of themselves. They can bring all of who they are to that interaction. And then thirdly is self-management. And to me, that's how the organization channels this energy of purpose and holism towards wherever the organization is going. A connection exercise, just a little small groups. We'll have 10 minutes. Make sure that everybody has an equal voice in the 10 minutes. When we come into the 10-minute breakout, introduce yourself, just give your name and say what your job is and whether this is your first Teal Americas meetup or not. And then just talk about which principle of Teal are you really chewing on or thinking of at the moment, those three that we just covered. And why is that?
And this one's called Story Swap. First, going to invite you to think of a moment in your life that changed or challenged your thoughts. It could be happiness, it could be joy, it could be fun, it could be inspiration, lots of different things. And, just something that helped you reflect on work or workplace culture. And, obviously that you're willing to share with others. Hence the swap part of the story swap. So you're going to be sharing your story, but you're also going to be potentially sharing other people's stories, because we're going to do 3 rounds. You'll have 3 minutes, so about 1.5 minutes each to tell your story. So after you've both told your stories, ask if it's okay to share your partner's story. If you get a yes, you're going to be sharing this story in the next round. If you don't, you're going to be sharing your story again in the next round. When the next round comes, you'll be paired with a new partner, and you're going to tell that story as if it was your story. If you have your partner's permission to share. If not, you share your story again, also in the first person. So we'll do that for round 2, and we'll do round 3, and then we'll come back together, and we'll get a couple of volunteers to share a story that had an impact on them. Off you go. Who would like to share a story that they've got permission to share?
I'll go. Several years ago, I was in a very severe vehicular accident, and I had several of my lower vertebrae crushed, and I had to spend a lot of time in rehabilitation. And going into that, I had always been somebody who identified who I am by what I do or what I produce. And having to take that time away from traditional employment to focus on health and recovery and realize that I'm not just what I do really changed my outlook in terms of what does it mean to bring your whole person to something. It was a very transformative thing.
I was humming along in life, and I'd been in a marriage for 20 years, and then all of a sudden, my husband tells me he's out. He'd found someone else, and I was devastated. And I went to an attorney, and I said to her, here's the deal. I want you to listen to what I'm saying and do this the way I want you to do it. And as the divorce proceeded, she, at several points, kept trying to tell me that I should or could go for more, go for broke, really take this guy to the laundromat. But I didn't want that. What I really wanted was I wanted to deal with a loss, cut my losses, have enough to sustain myself and my child, my son, and move on in life. And at the end of the day, the attorney made me sign a permission saying that I wouldn't sue her because I didn't follow any of her advice, so I couldn't come after her later. And it was the best decision I ever made in my life, because I've been able to go on and live my life free from that chapter and love my life and appreciate it. And he was able to just go off and have his life too. And I didn't get stuck and mired in all the anger and bad energy. I was able to really just listen to my heart and action it, and that felt good. And that's kind of like Teal.
Yeah, that is a powerful lesson in the way that society works against us on so many different levels, and how much grace there is.
One time, a long time ago, I told my boss that she had done something that I thought was unethical. Well, you can guess what she did for me. I was out of there. And then being with ethical people was very important to me since then. And I'm in total heaven right now, because I'm working closely with 6 people, and we all love and admire each other. So it's pretty much the opposite.
Just the struggle of being a parent of a young child and working at a job that was incredibly demanding. And I've been there. And so I was feeling that nauseousness of disappointing the family, but trying to keep the work going. And this individual was made the right choice of choosing a different career that allowed him to be in a more fulfilling role, but also be with his family and support his wife. So it was interesting for me to tell the story in such a way that I kept it true to the feeling, but it was certainly something I could relate to.
Thanks for leading us through that great exercise. It's such a great demonstration of holism, the power of it. Just being able to build those connections with people you may have just met instantly, and suddenly you have an understanding of what their experiences are like and that connection to them, and it unlocks so much empathy, understanding, resilience, and affirming things in your own life. It's really powerful. But we're going to take those connections that we were developing and kind of expand on them even more into the realm of self-management. Learning from past sessions, we know there's a lot of wisdom here, a lot of experience here, a lot of great insights, and a lot of questions. So we're going to take time together to share those questions with each other and also provide as much wisdom and answers as we can. We're going to do this through a form we call the Board of Advisors. So the first thing that this starts with is if you can take a second and just think about a question that you might be sitting with and wrestling with. This should be really a question that's meaningful for you, that's impactful for you. It should be something you're really working with and that you want to share. So think about that question. What we're going to do in the chat, share a Google Sheet. In that Google Sheet, you're going to see a place where you can add that question. You're going to post it and everybody's going to get a chance to see it and also provide an answer. You'll go here and just add the question. It could be something like the one you see here, the example, or it can be something that you heard or is stirred up for you after these conversations. You should add a little bit with your name there so people know who it's from. And then in your group, you're going to say, this is my name. With your name in that column, you can start to scroll through and find answers to others' questions in those areas. And if I have an idea, an insight, or a direction, I can add it right here. What we're going to do is break into smaller groups. What you're going to do is go to the tab with your group number on it and start the exercise we just talked about.